Hello, everyone. It's us.
Yo.
It's Lorecrimes. Professional as always.
I always need the
Never any
confirmation.
problems.
20 minutes.
Welcome,
It's fine.
everyone.
It's fine.
I always need the confirmation like we are live. I never believe it until I
No.
see it.
He has no faith.
No faith, brothers. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Just to let everyone know, I remember this time we are on Spotify. We are on Amazon as well. We are on maybe something else. I don't know. probably something else as well. We are. So if you want to listen to us offline, you know, if you're working or actually having a normal existence, you know, you've got things to do.
You aren't one of the parasites known as a YouTuber.
Yeah, you've
The
actually,
parasites.
you know,
Andrew Ryan here.
it's I don't want to be, you know, I just want to be happy. That good meme. Today is a topic that's got one of us like rocking back and forth with excitement.
Go.
Yeah, Colin is very happy about that. Today we're talking about Halo, but before we get into that, we need to address the comment of the week we had last time on our last episode. This one was to do with Warhammer Fantasy, so good old fantasy lovers out there, they'll appreciate that episode. But before we get into that, Donkey Man USA says, Colin, do not deny me my gritty.
Deny me my gritty. Thank you, Donkey Man. Unfortunately.
Gritties will be here at some point. So the last question of the week was to do with drawing the Sword of Cain, just for quick reference for only the uninitiated non-fantasy people who don't know it. The Sword of Cain is basically like this, like literally the sword of the god or Eldar god Cain, and basically if you draw it, it makes you into a crazy psychopath. And some of your responses were, as predicted, pretty horrific. Hashtag Cain Train was by the Rude Canadian 8068. I would just also address people. Eli is unfortunately not with us this episode. He's actually living a normal existence.
Yeah.
Lucky man. He has hobbies. No, just kidding. He's having fun, and shout him out. And if people want to donate and diss him, he will literally not know about it. So it's perfect. But for the Rude Canadian 8068, he says hashtag Cain Train. I would give the Sword of Cain to our Lord and Savior Boyne Gob, so that he may find devour the light of the realm of Hylish.
Yes.
For the uninitiated, Boyne Gob, our Lord and Savior, absolute like sponsor basically of the Lorecrimes podcast. Boyne Gob is essentially the father of all squigs in Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and he died because he tried to eat the sun. So, R.I.P. Rest in peace. He will be sorely missed. The next one is by at Trista Mora 1081. It says hashtag Cain Train. I will personally use the Widowmaker to White Strake. This is Pelennor White Strake, by the way, and then tell him that 40k is his home timeline, and that the Merv attempted to hide their existence by simply changing their names. Once Cain watches him get to work on killing, the greatest bromance will be made. Shout out to Elder Scrolls lore there. And then we have another one by resident greatest supporter of Lorecrimes, Mr. at DJ Beast.
Oh, good.
This guy he's probably in the chat right now, roasting Colin as he deserves it. Is the bed made? The bed is made because of DJ Beast.
He's at like the second hairline joke. I think your material's getting a bit stale.
Yeah, right. Listen, we should I was saying it before stream. We should put sponsors on our foreheads because they're just so big. And we can. I'm pretty sure Chair Meme says I missed my wife. I don't know why he's commented that. Why are you here? Why are you here, brother? Please watch. Make her watch too. Initiate. Hashtag Cain Train by DJ B says, I will take the Sword of Cain into 40k just to go on a Leagues of Votann killing spree. Hopefully this will be a big enough event to get them any amount of lore. If not, then nothing of value is lost.
Yeah.
Oh,
poor Votann.
They're being carried by another franchise, Rock and Stone.
Only person I know who actually likes them is Arthur Bones, and like he's like the battered housewife of the 40k community. It's like, oh, my favorite faction has already been abandoned.
I'm going to be on a stream later, so I'll make sure to remind him that the leagues continue to have no lore.
Thank you, Mr. Potato, who who's put a comment here saying, "Colin, your sheets are getting pretty stale." Wow, the slander's already begun. It's
Fuck off.
and the last one was by at Darren Wethington 1923. They said #Kane Train. I would draw the sword of Kane to cleanse the universe of con goers, tabletop / Smash players, and VTubers and all their fan bases. It's the only way we can achieve true peace.
All right, look, you had me for the first two. That last one wasn't necessary.
I don't know what he means by it. There's clearly nothing wrong with the Smash Bros community.
All right,
There's not a single
come on now.
problem, no controversy, nothing. I can't even remember. It completely got out of my eye.
Dude,
just like the Minecraft community, it's all wholesome and nothing goes wrong ever.
None of them have ever done inappropriate things to their fan base.
No,
listen,
never,
the community lore is
one.
more interesting than the actual game sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, the tea be spilling.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for answering that question of the week. The next question of the week is: you can wear power armor. What would you do? And this is #power trip. So in today's theme, you could wear Mjolnir for your powered up armor, or Space Marine power armor if it wants to be a more Warhammer themed question.
Bear in mind, you don't have like Colin said, if you tried to wear Space Marine or Mjolnir armor, you would pretty much die because you're not supposed to wear it just out the bat. But assume you can wear it and there's no spine breaking. Yeah. There's no you need a black carapace. It's like you imagine it's like Fallout armor where you can just be like open, in, done. Like it's no object. Just have a bit of a power trip, have some fun. Don't worry about the lore.
That'll be #power trip, all one word, and just give us your funny answers, maybe even a serious one from the heart, brothers. We appreciate you. It's a safe place. But speaking of not a safe place for humanity, we're going to talk about some Halo lore today.
Is it not a safe place for humanity there?
Oh, it's not. And if people who are listening and watching live, we have a new element we want to test out, which is basically we're going to put some nice girl bit of Halo footage in the background for you. Yes. So you're listening on just audio.
I've supplied the Halo Wars too. Yeah. Colin has supplied the other Halo stuff. So
you look like a human being. What does that mean?
And bro, I do just want to say this. This idea literally came about because I did think that we could just put Subway Surfer on our foreheads and our phones and just follow along. But we've chosen something a little bit more on topic. But going on with the lore today for the episode of the podcast, I believe it's I think it's Colin, you starting and just ripping.
And just kind of going.
Okay. Beginning with Halo lore, brothers, sit in, relax, and pucker up.
Whenever any questions, to both of you, but mostly Hal, just interrupt as needed. But yes, today we're going to be talking about Spartans. So with that in mind, I'm just gonna start, and then eventually I'm gonna stop. God only knows when that'll be, but we will eventually stop talking about Spartan. Donkey Man with the 5. Okay. Thank you, Donkey Man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
In fact, Mjolnir armor definitely had a built-in hog cranker for Spartans. It did not. It is not true. There was no hog cranker in the Mjolnir armor.
Just as a slight teaser for people later, there will be some gameplay recorded from Colin. So if you feel free to let us know exactly how you
was
feel.
Top of the leaderboard, both on my team, both matches. That doesn't matter.
Let us know exactly how you feel about Collins.
I'm going to get ripped no matter what human being TJPs. I didn't need to see.
I'm ready.
Human being is very accurate. I'm going to go now.
One last comment from DJB says, Colin is standing on a stool for his stream.
This isn't even me yet. I don't play like trash. I'm not in the game yet. This isn't my footage. And
it's mine. I'm still here. I'm just my camera. Don't mind me. It's fine.
That's okay. Right. Halo be with us.
We'll continue. Spartans. So, everyone, you've seen Master Chief at least once in your life, I'm going to assume. The basic idea of a Spartan, super soldier, given the best armor, augmentations, all that, is not probably a new concept to you. But you might have noticed he's a Spartan too. And to be the second of something, there needs to have been a first. This is groundbreaking stuff, I know. So the first iteration of the Spartan project was the Orion project, or Project Orion. Doesn't go either way. It doesn't really matter. It was not at first called the Spartan project. It was just Project Orion. It was renamed retroactively once the twos came around. They were all, much as the Spartans are, called Spartans, these guys were known as Orions. And the initial iteration of them starts kind of in the 2200s, where the newly formed UNSC, at least relatively new by this point, was trying to think, okay, are super soldiers something worth doing? And they weren't good enhancements really by any means. Imagine giving someone PCP and telling them to just go nuts. It was about at that level, just with military funding. But
what's the CIA project where they did crazy stuff? Like they gave LSD to dolphins or something.
Well, that was one of them, and then they had a woman jerk the dolphin off.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but appreciate that.
I've got your back.
Leon with 10 sterling British pounds, mate. Thank you, brother. He says, remember, kids, Catherine Halsey did nothing wrong. I don't think people are going to agree with that.
You are insane, but we'll get to that.
Stealthy 47 says, Lorecrimes doing Fortnite lore because Halo in Fortnite.
I need the Master Chief armor in Fortnite.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, yeah, start the even precursor to Project Orion, really not great, but it did prove that and to some extent you can make a super soldier. You can, if we build on this, we can get some good out of it. It also paved the way for minor enhancements to become standard for every human soldier in Halo, like adrenaline injections, which is incidentally a research in Halo Wars, at least the first one. I'm not sure about the second game. Johnson had a sex scene in Contact Harvest. Very true, Donkeyman USA. And thank you for the 5. Johnson fucks.
MK Ultra, I think that was the name of the experiment.
I think that was one of them. There was a lot.
I think yeah.
And then Project Orion proper, though, 2300s. You get, the first round of Project Orion. What I was just talking about was Project Orion 0.5. Now we're on to Project Orion Phase 1. It started with at least 5 test subjects, may have been more, not sure, but at least 5. And they were augmented, they tried it out, and the project, however, was ultimately shelved because of a lack of funding, poor results. It really, again, was not a very good project at this point. Things didn't go great. To its credit, the soldiers that were augmented were all quietly reintegrated back into the military. So the side effects weren't as bad as they're going to get, but they also all died within a year due to quote unquote undisclosed reasons. And when something in Halo is happening because of undisclosed reasons, it's probably because Oni took everyone involved behind the shed and put them down like dogs. We'll get into Oni a bit more in a bit. So whatever happened to those first 5, who knows? And the reason I said, at least 5, it's not clear, is because all the data on this original project by this point, beyond the fact it sure existed, is either just deteriorated. It's been 200 years at least since the first iteration of Orion, or because someone stole it, which again, probably Oni stole it. They tend to do that kind of dickery thing. So Project Orion is once again shelved for about 100 years until we hit the end of the 25th century. There's a bit of a time jump again. And the insurrection, so for those of you not too aware of Halo, the insurrection, was UNSC by this point is about 800 planets. Not, obviously nothing like the Imperium, but it's 800 planets. That's pretty decently big. Plasma radiation sickness, we're going to get to that for the Orions I'm about to talk about because it comes back. The insurrection, though, is like I was about to say, some of those outer colonies, they're called, the ones that are, farthest from Earth and the UNSC's heart, were thinking maybe they didn't want to be part of the UNSC anymore. When you're 800 light years from Earth, why do you need to pay Earth taxes? Why, who hasn't complained about taxes? And, I can walk to a government building. If I had to FTL travel to my government office I was paying taxes to, I'd probably not be terribly happy either.
Is this the plot of the Separatists in Star Wars?
Well, not quite, because the UNSC was also, kind of, but there was also a little bit of there might have been some human rights violations happening in the background. The UNSC isn't
a
perfect.
Sprinkling, just a smidge.
Not a lot. It's not the Imperium, but a few, a couple, just here and there. Made an oops. And the UNSC had been dealing with that more and more, and given that about a year from January 29th, 2491, which is the date of Project Orion restarting, given that a year from that date, the UNSC's best way to prevent rebellion is to just nuke an entire planet, all of it. Shout out to Far Isle. They were looking back into that super soldier thing to see if that wouldn't be a viable way of dealing with the insurrection. At the very least, less collateral damage than glassing a colony. Exterminatus usually best save that for a last resort. So they gathered the best and brightest of the UNSC Marines, the Special Forces, and these were actually volunteer forces, which again, that's going to get put on hold for later. But they say, hey, you want to be an even better soldier? They took some volunteers and took them to where else but Reach, because Reach is where all the cool stuff happens in Halo.
Shout out to the TV series that
Shut up.
Completely honored Reach and
kill this man.
No, I've had enough of that. Stop that now.
Even I know, that was perhaps. I'm sad currently about how Star Wars has been murdered. Halo didn't even breathe as a TV.
To be honest,
series.
I like the meme though of I can't remember what it's originated with. It's like the guy being hanged, and it's like first time, and it's just like a Star Wars guy. Halo fans like first time being like crucified.
You get a horrible TV show.
Thank you, Zano, for the $2. It says, "I hate Halsey. All my homies hate Halsey."
Man.
Appreciate it.
George doesn't hate Holmesy.
No, but
there's a bit of Stockholm syndrome in that, but still, he's got a mustache.
Yeah, cool. There might be some psychological problems going on with the Spartan 2s. We'll get to them. Mom,
that'll be all, George. Like, bitch, give him some respect.
But yeah,
he's such a cuddly bear.
Reach, head of everything military industrial complex related, take them to be trained and augmented on Reach. It started with 65 volunteers and eventually reaching a peak of 300 with Project Orion Round 2, one of whom is, of course, Sergeant Avery Johnson. If you ever wondered how the hell he survived up until the last of the original trilogy.
Bring it in, baby.
It's like, well, he was a Spartan. Hold me. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love it.
The legendary ending. But even though, Project Orion Round 2, far more successful. The augmentations were pretty awful. Johnson described it as both agonizing, and it would also send him and others into just bouts of confused rage. But, once they calmed down for good and stopped swinging at whatever scientist was pumped them full of magic, they were pretty good in combat. They were key in a whole lot of operations against the insurrection. They were good soldiers, quality, knew their stuff. They were already the best of the best, so they knew what they were doing. Problems were twofold this time around. Project Orion, these Spartan 1s, as they'll come to be known, were good, but they weren't good enough. They were definitely better than unaugmented humans, but just to give you a base of what we're still dealing with at this level of Spartan, without an in-depth medical examination, you really couldn't tell them apart from normal people. They essentially took a good soldier, but just a soldier, and made them within the context of Halo.
Would it be fair to say that people loved Sergeant Johnson so much they post-actively put Spartan 1s in and were like, he's cool because he's a Spartan 1, but like when they made the original, they weren't thinking that through. They were just like, oh, he's cool. We'll make this like just for him.
I'm almost
because that's how
I'm almost certain they did that, because also if you have like an OG copy of Halo Combat Evolved, it mentions how like on the back of the box, you are, the Master Chief, the last Spartan, and then we see how that turned out.
Yeah. The last Spartan in this vicinity is what we meant.
He wasn't even that, because Linda was on the Pillar of Autumn. But last Spartan for real, except not really. But yeah, Project Orion, it again, within the context of Halo, it made normal soldiers, like, it just, you turned them into basically top of the line ODSTs in terms of overall effectiveness. ODSTs are awesome, but for the level of, budget and time and effort they spent on making super soldiers, you'd like something a bit better than just top of the line something you already have. All the while, insurrection keeps getting worse. Civilians are being caught in the crossfire all the time, and the outer colonies are turning more and more against the UNSC. It needed the ultimate soldier, and Orion really just gave them good soldiers. It also, I know someone brought it up, caused irreversible genetic damage in some of them. Physical, mental degradation, just reduced their quality of life, and most prevalent for the UNSC, made them worse in combat. That's the main issue, of course.
I mean, not being funny, but the failed Space Marine aspirants usually just become bitter assholes, but they're actually pretty like strong. There's no drawback to being an aspirant or servitors, but like
I'm pretty sure most of them, like, if they fail, they're either a servant, if you're lucky, or soup.
It depends. Like you get examples like Caleb Aaron, who became a Housecarl, but then you get guys like the guy in that Ultramarine comic about Marnius Calgar's origin, where he's like, I failed, but I'm still like 7 foot tall and pretty strong.
Yeah.
And then he became a Cornate Berserker. And it's like, okay.
I'm pretty sure most of them become like, I think it's in the Blood Angels, they basically become like the next smoothie for like the hungry.
I mean, the Iron Hands and their successors are the worst. They're just like, you failed like 1%, servitor.
Yeah, they don't have failures. They have success and then still things that are useful.
Equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's free servitors. Woohoo.
Exactly. But yeah, not all of the Orions, went through this. Once again, of course, most notably Avery Johnson. But enough did that Oni fabricated a disease known as Boren syndrome, that he only existed to explain why several hundred soldiers were suddenly on record as just kind of melting. So not great for them. But they had a better end than Orion 0.5, as I guess as I'll call it, way back in the 2200s, because or the first iteration of Orion, because these guys weren't disappeared. They were just quietly put back to the military, whatever position they had. And they even inspired the ODSTs to be restructured. So they paved the way for the ODSTs to be the badasses they are. So, hey, that's good. And I am going out of chronological order a bit here, but the last big thing to know about the Spartan ones is that they had their own children that were known as Spartan 1.1s. They weren't even like as impressive as the Orions, but they were superior to baseline humans. They might have been augmented at birth. Oni might have, dicked around with that, but they also might not have been, which is, and if that's true, it's a good thing Oni didn't pay them much interest, because there would have been super soldier breeding programs in Halo, and that would have been even more horrific than what's about to show up in a moment. Speaking of Spartan 2s, the ones on the box, the Mr. Chief, George, Cal 141, my beloved. While Project Orion was created and then gotten rid of for good with this last round, there was a report known as the Carver Findings, which was looking at the state of humanity, looking at the insurrections, all the civil unrest the UNSC was dealing with, the UEG, and it basically said that humanity is on the brink of total war between the inner and outer colonies. Dr. Halsey, may she burn in a lake of boiling piss for the rest of time, added her own report to the mix that stated that not only is total war inevitable, humanity's on the brink of sending itself back to the Stone Age when it occurs, and that at the very least billions of people are going to die.
So her response was, nuh-uh.
Her response was not only to go, nuh-uh, but also, you're stupid and wrong, and you're not as smart as I am, because I think it's going to be worse. Thank you, Catherine.
Let's show them democracy with my gun. Calling all Helldivers, but it's basically the Helldiver.
UNSC outer colony policy.
Oh man, this is why does everyone obviously hates. I just even from someone who doesn't know a huge amount, I kind of just basically has sort of watched the games mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Dr. Halsey particularly? Is it just because she doesn't? Is she she's just an asshole, or is it because she's a genocidal maniac?
I think I'll give there's three main reasons. Part of it is that as much as I already didn't like her before 343 took over the franchise, 343 made her even worse. Just in terms of being just insufferable, arrogant, and a bad person.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said about when 343 were like, oh, it's not that humanity just figured this stuff out. The Forerunners, they implanted the schematics to build a space marine into their DNA, and I guess Halsey knows that. It's kind of like she has some parallels with Big E in the terms of if we want to win, we have to not worry about morality, and that's kind of her thing. And to be fair, she's not wrong in the Halo setting, at least.
There was also, saying that, we'll get into what the Spartan 2.
Thank you, Donkey Man USA as well. Law Fact 3, a Spartan 2 named Maria Testro Chief's armor, then retired and had kids.
Congratulations, Maria. Yep, she was the only one, I believe, to get a happy ending. But there's that. 343 also turned the UNSC into the Imperium Light. The UNSC was never nearly as dictatorial as it was after they took over. Remember when humanity were the Forerunners? I like that retcon. I'm going to be honest. That's one 343ism I'll defend.
I think they clearly made the best game with Halo 5. So
all right, let's.
I know.
Okay, little man, slow your roll right there. Slow your roll right there.
There's
truly Halo 5, maybe even Halo 6, but is it even called Halo 6? It's just called Halo.
It's just Halo Infinite. But yeah, there was she's just kind of unpleasant, arrogant, know-it-all dick. She was rude to Noble Team and Halo Reach. I know that's not exactly big.
Is she the kind of scientist Karen?
A little bit. She was mean. Luis Rodriguez, thank you for the one.
Thank you, brother.
She was rude to Noble Team. I'm glad Carter put her in her place. And there's also the little fact that, as we're about to find out, she kidnapped 75 children. So, not great.
God, I mean, is it just because coming from a Warhammer perspective, that's low-key not doesn't make me blink at all, just because of Warhammer perspective.
So hold on, there's 70 plus children. Then why is John called 117? Where's the other 40 come from?
I will get to that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Thank you, Stealthy47. Who is more insufferable, Halsey or Fabius Bile? Fabius Bile's not insufferable.
I think you can probably hold a conversation with him. You might not want to hold a conversation with him because he's probably going to be torturing you, but you could.
He's cool, but you might not leave with your scrotum.
To be fair, I'd rather be tortured by Fabius than Halsey.
Yeah. But you'll laugh. You'll laugh, and then you'll die. But you'll laugh.
Yeah, I don't want to be tortured either way. But I'd rather have a bit of a silver lining.
Yeah. He's fabulous.
A bit of banter.
Fabulous Bill. He's
fabulous Bill.
Yeah. One of them at least is a conversationalist. Humanity's in danger, or at least Oni thinks it's in danger of sending itself back to the Stone Age. Doesn't matter or not if it's actually true, because Oni felt it was true. So Catherine Halsey was brought to Oni Section 3, which is the special projects branch of them that does all the wacky, awful things. And in 2511, they got to work on continuing what Orion began. Side note, Andy, did you know Oni exists?
Yes.
Yeah, the Office of Naval Intelligence is a branch of the United States Navy.
I know somewhere I have like one of those Halo collectibles where they had like an Oni booklet and some like declassified documents somewhere. I've got them somewhere.
Yeah, it's
Sorry, I just thought of the it's kind of not related, but it's semi-related, which is like a funny like naming of things. Because I think it was like it's like in America, like like in your colleges, yeah, you design like special like big like jumpers or shirts or whatever, and it has like the white lettering.
Yeah, it's got the logo.
And then one of them was like Christian University of Michigan, but then there's an acronym. It's just
CUM.
It's just CUM.
Believe it or not, there's no CUM branch of Oni that I'm aware of, at least.
How did that not pass the sniff test?
Oni Kamoni, let's go.
Does it say "cum" on your shirt? Like, surely, come on. Oh man, sorry, so off topic.
CUM. I'm 5. Oh, but yeah.
Also, Mr. Milo says Marathi versus Halsey, hell in a cell. Thank you, brothers.
This time around, their branch, their goal is, of course, once again, not dealing with aliens yet. Humanity doesn't know the Covenant exists yet. This is solely to deal with separatist movements. They are now going to make the perfect super soldier, the best you can possibly get. The idea overall being, the Orions weren't good enough. We want super soldiers who can bust in, eat a wall of bullets just without phasing. And then, there's a meeting going on where some moderately important people are like, hey, maybe we should break away from the UNSC. And then before it gets any farther than that, a bunch of super soldiers storm in and kill everyone and then leave. So what else do they do? But Amber Alert children. The reason they needed to be children, I say needed to be children.
Sorry, thank you for the $2 from Non-Dormians. He says, Grimgor, Ironhide, War versus Reach, who wins?
I think a Mac cannon could destroy a planet if you fired enough of them at it.
Someone said
I'm
that's
going with Reach.
I'm pretty sure DJ Beast earlier said, I love cum and the universities. The Christian University in Michigan.
But there were 2 reasons Spartans needed to be kids. One was that they needed to be young enough for the augmentations to be accepted, but Oni also wanted soldiers that would only ever be soldiers. Pure, complete indoctrination, no questioning of orders, or wondering if what they were doing is right, or having family concerns or anything like that. Because as far as they're concerned, total collapse is on the line, and everyone wants super soldiers in their back pocket, even beyond that. So any and all morals were promptly thrown out the window before the project even began. These children needed to be as close to perfect as a human being could possibly get. No history of anything like disease or any genetic problems in their family, nothing at all. If it was, you were not in the running to be a Spartan candidate. Although, to be quite frank, I don't think I'd want to be in the running to be a Spartan candidate. The kids, they needed to be a competitive and have a real go-getter spirit, which in most other settings, this might be the start of a great heroic journey where these children are destined to be, the hero of the story. And then Oni kidnapped all of them. When they set out, Andy, you were asking earlier, they found 150 children from ages 6 to 8 that they felt fit the criteria, which is why, hey, how come, Cal 141, John 117, why does it go up that high? There was 150 of them at first. There's also Spartan 1337, but that's just a gamer joke, so that doesn't really count.
Another one from Donkey Man USA. Thank you, brother, for $5. He says, Law Fact 4. Keep him coming, brother. That's actually quite cool. He says, Fred 104 gets used as a sled by a pretty detective lady. He then sends her a massage or a message saying, next time he rides on top. So
Fred's also, we'll get to him, probably the only one to come out of the Spartan 2 program with a normal personality. Cut down to 75, kidnap those children. Their family names are erased to the point that I don't think any of them actually know their last names. And from that point on, they're only ever referred to by their first name and a number. At, again, 8 years old, they're put through like special ops grade training regimens. Like you shove your little brother into a Navy SEAL class, and that's about what happened here. Overseen by one officer, Franklin Mendez. He put them through the ringer. It was just hellish training. Like there's only so many ways I can say that. He did, to some extent, try and a little bit go against maybe what Oni wanted. Like he tried to instill duty, honor, respect into the Spartans, try and teach them the difference between right and wrong, stuff like that. But for one, he was also teaching them how to kill their fellow man with great efficiency. And for two, Oni was hanging over this entire affair, making sure that, you don't want the Spartans to be too honorable. They exist to kill people who want to not be part of the UNSC any longer. There's only so much honor you can instill into that kind of thing. They were also given, intelligence training, like just schooling, stuff like that, history, mathematics, science, the best of the best and all that, which again might have been a good thing were it not for the fact these are child soldiers. For the Spartans' part, they would come to consider each other basically family, to the point that outside looking in, you would think they were all like telekinetically linked with each other, because they'll give each other a glance and then a battle plan has been formed and they're just always on the same wavelength. And this comes to a head when they reach the age of 14 in 2525, and they get their augmentations. So if you remember how I said Project Orion, discount Spartan project, Avery Johnson said it was agonizing, and those augmentations were only really amounted to a noticeable but small boost in their effectiveness. We'll take that, double it a couple more times, and now it's not being done to train soldiers, it's being done to your 14-year-old sibling. They were, despite the fact they were put into medically induced comas, they were filled with agony, and each of the own augmentations had their own special kind of pain, which we'll go through in a bit, just what those augmentations were. But yeah, there was all different kinds of hell they were in for. So out of these 75 children, 30 of them just straight up died. They're just dead. That's it. Thanks for joining the Spartan program. You're not good enough, I'm afraid.
Thanks for playing. Here's your participation.
Yeah.
Gravestone.
A coffin. 12 more of them were crippled to the point of not being able to function as human beings, and were put in cryostasis in the hopes that one day you can rehabilitate them. Again, probably just for the purposes of, I want that super soldier investment back, please. So at the end of the day, when all was said and done, less than half, only 33 survived the process and came out as proper, actual Spartans. While this was happening, all of those, you might be wondering, well, how did they hide the fact they just kidnapped 75 kids? Flash clones is what they're known as. Cloning does exist in Halo, and on the upside, it does make just an identical clone to you. On the downside, the clones aren't perfect. Pretty much the moment they come out of the chamber, they start falling apart. And after a few years, all these clones had died of technically natural causes. Like, there's nothing put into them that makes them die. It's just the cloning process isn't very good.
We have a donation by Luis Rodriguez, who says, "You first time live." It's written in a strange way, but it says Colin Dumb ILY Colleen.
I think thank you.
Illy.
Illy.
Like I say, it reminds me of you know how, like, I don't remember which book it's in Warhammer, where someone, like, it's like one of the women who's like with the it's in the Night Lord's omnibus. It's the navigator, Octavia. She just says when she's like talking to Talos, the Night Lord, she basically in her head goes, "Oh my god, that's why they're so terrifying. It's because you are literally like super soldier children. You never got to be adults."
Yeah.
So you never got. They, like, she says, what makes you terrifying is you never get to look at the world with an adult sensibility, and you're just children running around with weapons and in slaughtering people. It's probably like a similar thing.
Kinda.
We need super nanny.
Well, I'll
certainly say the Spartans are definitely more disciplined than the Night Lords.
Well, she thought that of all Space Marines. She said like they're just technically like in a way they're mostly just children with guns. So,
yeah, they
except
were.
for our Jack Rockfist from the Space Wars, who's like, I had a family, but I was so hench I could become a Space Marine. Like, fair enough. Why not?
I'm pretty sure the Ragnar Blackmane book, like he immediately is like the way he becomes a Space Marine, like is the night where they invade his home and he's like clapping cheeks, and then it just happens and he like semi half dies and they're like, you can become a Space Marine, and his like girlfriend gets like carted off somewhere. He's probably a great grandfather at this point. You know, good old Ragnar.
You're just like, I didn't hear no bell.
Basically.
Except the bell is I didn't hear I could stop having children. But not a bad comparison though. They're child soldiers. With those those flash clones though, upside both between the fact they were clones, so they were in some ways most ways identical, and because they all died, most people wouldn't think to go look for the missing children, because as far as almost everyone was concerned, they weren't missing. They just very unfortunately died of rare, but as far as anyone knew, natural diseases. To my knowledge, there was only one. There might have been more, but there's at least one confirmed father of one of the Spartans, Spartan Naomi 10, who was convinced that his daughter was still alive out there, replaced with an imposter. But if anything, his mad rantings might have just helped people dismiss the theory, because he then became an insurrectionist. And a great way to make, to come off as a conspiracy theorist is to start blowing up government buildings. So
that'll do it.
Yeah. For what it's worth, the head of ONI, Margaret Parangoski, even worse woman than Halsey, call her out for this, because this was mostly just Halsey doing her own thing, which, Parangoski said, you only did that to ease your own conscience, which, whether or not that's true, seems like it's a handy excuse to explain away the mass kidnapping. So my only assumption for why Parangoski was angry at Halsey was because this was something ONI didn't approve of, and anything that ONI says is bad, and therefore you deserve to die for it. They didn't kill her, though. She's a bit too valuable, but, they weren't happy. Also, 2 of the surviving Spartans came into contact with their flash clones and killed themselves after the fact, so we're down 2 more Spartans before any fighting's actually begun. Isn't Halo fun?
It's not as depressing as Warhammer, but it's very much like the theme of this. I mean, was it like the theme of I hate to even quote it from, like the theme of like Ubermensch, or like the super soldier in itself is just a dark road.
Would it be fair to call it grim light? It's like
I'd honestly say in some ways it's darker, because 40K's whole thing is that it just sucks, right? Oni just decided to do this.
Oh, I think grim dark is definitely is a grunginess and tone, whereas like Halo visually probably doesn't match that. But then in terms of its lore, it's very much, well, I guess what's like realistic is the way to
Chip Stubbo is not eating corpse starch, no matter what's happening.
No,
I'm not eating that shit. I'm not fucking doing it.
Yeah,
said Chips.
The original trilogy is certainly more like an upbeat space opera. Granted, a lot of people still die, but the big green man defeats the aliens and saves the day. Reach is, I would certainly say, Reach is grimdark. That is not a happy game.
Document USA says Halo Legends is great, and I'll die on that hill.
Halo Legends is phenomenal. One day, but we've done the Spartan 2s are now done cooking, at least in terms of augmentations. They're not quite done yet, but they're getting there. We'll just we did the verses where I listed off all the augmentations, so we'll speed run it here real quick. Ceramite, like ceramic plate stuff like that, was grafted to their bones to make them basically unbreakable. Their muscle tissue is made far more dense. Lactic acid recovery times was significantly reduced, so a Spartan can run for a week straight and not even feel it. A pellet was put in their thyroid gland to boost the growth of both skeletal and muscle tissue. They dicked around with the blood vessels in their eyes to make them see far better and farther. And they messed with their nervous systems, too, to increase their reaction time by at least 300%, with unconfirmed but noted reports of increases in intelligence, memory, and creativity. It's also worth keeping in mind that this was both far and away better than what Oni thought it was going to be. And this was when they were fresh out of the chamber. Like, you were augmented, you've gotten used to it. They're still only 14 years old. Puberty has really just just begun. They're not done growing.
Puberty is a hell of a drug.
Yeah,
especially when you're a super soldier.
It was everyone involved was like, we made demigods, and they're not done getting more powerful yet.
It does remind me of, like, particularly in the Warhammer setting, is a similar thing where Space Marines were not actually designed to fight aliens. They are actually somewhat, well, first of all, to kill Thunder Warriors, which are the proto Space Marines, and they were also designed to kill humans. That's why in the Horus Heresy, it's the first time they actually design rounds that are able to penetrate ceramite armor, because the bolter is designed to splatter a human being. Like that's the same thing, I guess, in Halo, where like essentially the humans design super soldiers to kill other humans rather than actually to fight.
Yeah, they were like
existential
riot
threat.
control rather than we're going to kill aliens. It's like, we're here to like suppress revolts and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Emperor's uniting humanity. He's not, whether you want to or not, you're being
united.
You're gonna be so happy once you're united. Just don't look behind the curtain. It's so good,
Which,
bro.
Incidentally, means that the Master Chief's appearance in Rainbow Six Siege is the closest we've gotten in a video game to his canonical purpose for existing. It's very funny to me. Just to put into a bit of a perspective. Master Chief, John 117, after his augmentations, they'd settled because they had a period where they basically had to learn how to walk again after all was said and done. He was working out in a gym, getting used to how to do stuff again. And the whole time, he's like, everything feels wrong. Like, he's checking the machines, like everything like is like a screw loose. Why is this so easy to pull? I'm lifting like 600 pounds. Why does this feel like I'm lifting like a 5-pound dumbbell? And at one point, he dropped a weight and started calculating while it was falling its trajectory and velocity. He also says before that, I'm not that good at math. I was never the best at it, as he starts calculating the speed a dumbbell is falling mid-flight. Like, all right, John, thank you for that. And it comes up, like, what is it, 9.12 or whatever meters a second? Or whatever or feet a second, whatever the speed of something falling is. He's like, all right, no, this is right. Why does it look like it's dropping in slow motion to me? What's going on here? Like, everything felt off because he's so powerful that the world is moving in slow motion and he's yanking around gym equipment like it's a pillow. Then some ODSTs come in and start being dickheads. Throwing their weight around. We're ODSTs, we're the best, which in most cases is true. In this case, it ends with the Chief and those 4 ODSTs in a boxing ring, and 2 crippled and 2 dead ODSTs, one of which John kicked so hard in the balls that his hips exploded. I'm not making that up. It is explicitly said he kicked him in the lower half, and the dude's pelvic muscle, like bones, shattered.
I mean... Damn.
You ain't never sitting down again.
No.
What is going to the bathroom?
I'm assuming that was one of the dead ones. Like, that's got to be just like turning off the light switch.
If you survive, you're not going to the bathroom. You're just using tubes.
No, you have a bag.
Colostomies. You are colostomy man now.
I mean, that's a hell of a way to go.
Yeah, so again, 14 years old and 4 super soldiers ganging up on him. Well, not like elite soldiers, either dead or crippled and have to probably leave military service.
Oh, so he did fulfill his purpose of killing humans.
Well, maybe not these ones. And for what it's worth, when he was done, there was no like adrenaline shakes like, oh my God, I just killed 4 people. Chief Mendez came in, and like John just kind of looked at him, was like, was I supposed to do that? They were UNSC personnel, but they were attacking me. He just kind of blankly vaguely felt bad and asked him like, did I do good? I don't think I did good.
We did have a donation by a message by DTB says that's what Marathi does to Colin.
God,
I'm very sure referring to good old, was it Hip Destroyer or something?
A bad kid tree.
Oh my God, hell of a way to go.
But if his reaction to killing and crippling 4 people wasn't didn't give it to you, their psychology was the stuff of nightmares. Halsey did object to just straight up brainwashing them because that was initially what Oni wanted. But Halsey and Mendez were like, they need to be soldiers. They need to understand what they're doing. There needs to be team cohesion. And you don't get that if you just turn them into servitors, basically. So they did view each other as family. They stuck together. They pretty frequently avoided contact with normal people. Like there just was no relation. They had nothing in common. They could not relate to almost everyone. The only exception really was Fred. Fred at one point cracked a joke, and the guy in charge of the mission he was on was like, "Oh, I don't know. Spartans came with a sense of humor. Is that going to cost me extra?" And he just goes, "No, I'm just defective. They just didn't quite do me right when it came to the conditioning." The rest of them, there's not a therapist alive that can begin handling that nightmare. They didn't hold it against anyone. They thought of what was done to them as both necessary and what they were born to do, which Oni probably loved that mentality. But really did not get along with normal people. Didn't hate them. They just could not talk to them. When it comes to the reverse, normal people looked at Spartans with both reverence and disgust because, on the one hand, you're a UNSC Marine, a brute's about to rip your entire squad in half, and then a 7-foot-tall maniac comes rocketing out of nowhere and rips the brute apart. There's going to be some hero worship. But on the other hand, and I know especially Andy's probably going to roll his eyes at this one, but I promise I am saying it for a reason. The Spartans, they're described almost in a way kind of like the Eldar, which how the Eldar, it's they said they move with this grace that's straight out of the uncanny valley.
Yeah, but I like the Halo 1 cinematic where it's one of the team just like a backflip over an elite and then shoots them in the back, and you're like, how can you do that in that much armor? That's crazy.
They're insanely flexible, durable, all that.
It must be nothing's wasted, I guess.
No. It's there's not a single movement is wasted. It's they're flowing through the space they're walking through. It's they look uncanny to the point that, again, solitaires, people were to the point of they were afraid of touching a Spartan. It's something is clearly not right with that.
We've got quite a few donations here with Leon with £10. Thank you, brother. It says, how much I love the Spartan 2. I do enjoy Spartan 3 and some of the Headhunter Spartans.
We'll talk about the Headhunters.
Night Lords than 2. Donkeyman USA says, Law Fact 5. Thank you, brother, again. He says, half-naked Fred hugs detective lady after leaving a shower. Can't relate.
One day.
Says, also, no, Eli, he's fighting the nails. The nails. The nails are biting right now. Yeah. He's probably quite sad to miss the Halo edition, but we will be back with some. Well, you'll see us in a week, brothers. Anyway, so or maybe even some gaming streams. We'll see. We'll be with us soon.
One day. I say one day like Eli's not going to be back.
Yeah, I say that.
I don't know why it's one day. He's got to be back.
We're back from Mordor.
Yeah. But and then the ODSTs. They did not like the Spartans for the most part. They felt that the Spartans
were... Mr. Nihilov just put, can a Spartan outrun Forrest Gump?
Well, no one can really outrun Forrest Gump. That's
a really important question. And a
I
plastic bag is
started
also a thank you note,
running.
though. Someone said, I know Exodite hater Eli got me.
Kelly might have been able to. But what was it? Where was I? There I was. Yeah, ODSTs didn't like Spartans. They felt they were like just glory hogs who would go through a sea of bullets just to get all the credit for the mission, which for the Spartans part, they didn't care one way or the other. It wasn't related to the mission, so it just was not relevant. There's a couple like standouts where a Spartan manages to relate to a person. There was Jerome 92 from Halo Wars, who, and you played Halo Wars 1 too, right, Andy?
I did. I mean, I enjoy 1 and 2, but like 1 is like a bit of a like a power trip. You just
once you
playing the
figure it
Spartans,
out,
like they kill everything. Yeah, but even in the cutscenes, they're like, oh, they're Spartans. They're like impervious, and then like you've probably seen the cutscene before, and then Halo 2 comes around, and it's like, oh no, leave him alone, Atriox, leave him alone. He's just a little guy.
Stop.
Oh.
Yeah. But Jerome and Sergeant Forge in the Spirit of Fire once got into a fight, which, according to Halo Wars, because it's like an unlockable lore thing, resulted in a broken chair, a hole in the bulkhead of the ship, and the shipboard AI had to tell both of them to stop beating the hell out of each other, which, they always ate together in the mess hall after that, which, that's nice. At least,
not to be funny, but Forge is a badass. We love Forge.
Maybe he wasn't kidding when he said he could have taken the Arbiter if the lady hadn't stopped him.
And for the record, I could have kicked you ass the first time.
That's also the first time Jerome used a chair in combat. The second time was against the Flood.
My man hit him with a steel chair.
He did. He beat a combat form over the. Imagine beating up like a hive guard with a steel folding chair.
My God.
That's what he did. There's also the armor, the Spartan Mjolnir armor. Marks 1 to 3 were prototypes that were flawed, couldn't really be used in proper fighting. Mark 4 was the first one. It's the one you see in Halo Wars. That's what those Spartans are wearing, and could feasibly be used outside of testing. It weighed it weighed 1,000 pounds. Pretty much any piece of sci-fi military equipment you can think of, it had it, except for energy shielding. Did not have that one yet. Vacuum sealed, and just every possible contingency in it to ensure that the decades-long investment inside of it isn't going to die the moment some random bozo with a gun points it at them. Which was very good timing, because they had exactly, I believe, one insurrectionist mission in 2525, and then the Covenant showed up, who began the 28-year-long process of reducing humanity from 800 worlds to about a dozen-ish, something like that. Not many. There were 24 billion people in 2525. In 2553, there were less than one. The Covenant did not take prisoners. Regardless of what the garbage TV show seems to think it did. It did not. They did decent in that operation against the insurrection. Against the Covenant, they were just kind of thrown to the threat like, Spartans, we have those. Let's go deal with that. Sam, Kelly, the Spartans, and good old John, Master Chief, boarded a Covenant ship by a hole put into it by a Mac round. They planted missiles on the ship's generator, but Sam's suit was breached by a plasma overcharge, and the vacuum sealing failed. He stayed behind to detonate the missiles, and in the first engagement, the Spartans had completely destroyed a Covenant ship at the cost of one of their own, who, prior to this, felt invincible, which, again, I don't blame them for that. I mean, first of all, they're 14 years old. What teenager doesn't feel invincible? And also super soldiers.
Yeah, so imagine the craziest thing you did when you were a teenager, and now imagine you can like lift a car with your hands. Like, we would have got up to some crazy stuff.
It's like being a teenager and having lots and lots of money, you're not gonna make a smart
Yeah, but
like
like
you're
if
not
you
make
have lots
smart
of money,
choices.
if you have lots of money and you go into a nightclub and you're like a bit of a creep, you'll get slapped in the face. But like if you can lift a car with your bare hands, like I'm sorry, it's like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
practically
You don't get slapped in the face because they can't reach your face. They can only reach your
exactly.
They're not big enough. They're not tall enough. Yeah. But on the bright side, it proved, both to the other Spartans and the rest of the UNSC, you can kill the Covenant. You can do it because prior to this, it took 13 UNSC ships to destroy a single Covenant one, and I'm pretty sure 10 of those UNSC ships exploded. So, hey, victory's possible.
Another donation by Donkey Man USA. Thank you, brother, for $5. Says Law Fact 6 UNSC used a sneaky nuke to shatter a Covenant moon and half a planet. That was only on one occasion.
Oh, dude, Nova Bomb, my beloved. I don't know where they pulled that from, but
And DJB says playing Bloodborne right now. Great game. Fighting Living Collins boss.
it's quite rude. There's a boss called the Living Failures. I know what he's getting at.
Oh,
I don't know
DJB's
what the
no.
boss is for, but you know
what
what?
was the Living Failure? Is that
It's like the
one?
swarm of the weird bulby dudes.
Oh, yeah, and it's next to the church that the lost one of the left behind great ones is in. Yeah, I think I remember that one. And they just come at you, don't they? From like a little garden, don't they?
Yeah, I believe so.
God, it's been a while since 60 FPS remake on PC. It's going to happen.
Please.
And Half-Life 3.
While we're at it. So with that opening round, the Spartan 2s would become humanity's greatest asset. They were pretty much the only thing turning a complete defeat into a defeat where it said we got something out of it and lost. Like what the Spartans did cost the Covenant millions of their soldiers. They weren't. Now you might be thinking there's only like 30 of them. Now that Sam died, I think we're down to 29 now. No, I think exactly 30. There's not a lot left, is my point. Might be thinking, oh, that's not a lot. How do they help? Because Spartans, they weren't sent to the front lines unless absolutely necessary. They were sent, on the high priority missions. UNSC armies holding off the Covenant. Spartans are sneaking behind, blowing up anything that looks like it's even remotely valuable, assassinating key figures, causing hell, basically. In essence, play Halo on heroic, and that's pretty much what the Spartans were doing. They couldn't, run in the middle of a field of Covenant bullets because that would kill them, but they were taking out anything thrown at them. They were the perfectly disciplined gods of war, basically. They could take hits no one else could when they needed to. They were stealthy. They were proficient in anything they were given. They were unbelievable soldiers. Hell, did you know Spartans are immortal?
As in, like, they don't age?
Well, that's actually something we could get to, but no, they never die.
As I don't know to what level, like they could be killed.
Anytime.
No.
Here's a fact for you. Here's a little bit of lore. Whenever one is quote killed, they're just listed as missing in action. Spartans never
die. They just go missing in action.
Okay, I was like, for a second, I was like, so the hunk of meat just sits there still pulsating.
It still wiggles every now and then.
Endless food. I've seen
Spartans
sold
are basically
world
a can
hunger.
of. They're basically a can of Spam. As long as they're in that tin shell, there's nothing. They'll never degrade. They'll be fine. You can put them in the skillet whenever you want. They're fine inside that little tin coffin.
Yeah, but with that though, they weren't even declassified until 2547, which is both 22 years after the program had finished augmenting them, and 6 years before the war ends. It was done to both boost morale, because by this point the writing's not even on the wall. The wall has collapsed under the weight of all the writing on it that humanity is not winning, is not doing very good. They left out, the origin of the Spartans, but they revealed that, hey, humanity's got these real cool super soldiers that are wiping the floor with the Covenant, which that part's not a lie. And even before that, people talk, and a Spartan grabbing basically a Humvee and then beating an alien to death with it, that's conversation worthy. Word about that's going to get around. So yeah, 2547, they revealed that, and that was also Oni Directive. I wrote it down. I can't find Directive 930. What it was is these guys don't die; they just go missing in action. Because the truth that Spartans could die, probably not something you want to let the public know about. That they're
massive morale decrease.
Yeah, that would that's. On the battlefield, it's about the same as like if a guardsman sees a space marine just get atomized, except there's only 30 of these guys.
Yeah, it's like imagine every time one dies, it's like Commander Dante is lost. Like, oh no, not Dante.
Look, he's gone to the Emperor's. He's fighting with the Emperor in hell. It's fine.
Yeah. By the end of the
even
war,
like a Primarch, I suppose, with the Space Marine.
In terms of comparison,
yeah, they're like, imagine if it was just like, by the by, guys, Lionel Johnson is dead. Huh? No.
Yeah.
Please no.
If Master Chief, like, if he died, like when he died at Halo 3, if that was public knowledge, every human alive left is killing themselves.
Damn.
That's even a line one of the Marines give sometimes when you die. They're like, well, I guess I'll eat my gun now.
Plastic Bag says, R.I.P. Carter, he was a real one.
We'll get to Noble Team shortly. Almost done with the Spartan 2s. By the end of the Human Covenant War, there were only 16 of them left, or at least known to survive. It was a little bit higher than that. Red Team, for example, they weren't listed as having survived. Those are guys from Halo Wars. But the Spirit of Fire was listed as having been lost with all hands. So even though the Red Team was listed as being alive, no one really thought they were. And, you know, despite these guys' best efforts, 29 of them is not enough to prevent an alien empire that has at least most of the galactic armed humanities under its control. You can't really fight that off, especially because, you know, Spartans are people, and the Covenant would usually just glass a planet from space unless it had foreigner artifacts on it, whereupon they would go land, look for the artifacts, and then glass the planet.
I'm guessing there was a big technological gap between
their massive technological gap. Like difference between like an average guardsman and the Tau, probably worse in all honesty. Like I know like the Mechanicus is, you know, deep, you know, vaults have stuff that makes the Tau look like cavemen, but you know, your average guardsman does not have that stuff.
Because the way that it's written in Warhammer, like sometimes a las is like, oh, it's the fucking las gun, man. This thing is like it can do so much damage, and then
other times
it's like, oh my god, his flashlight, like his flashlight gun.
There was a massive technological gap. Humanity was not in a winning position in any way whatsoever. They needed more men, more ships, equipment, technology, everything. And most prevalently for this, needed more Spartans. So Spartan 3 program, created and directed now by Colonel James Ackerson, who I'm going to call Ackerman at least once by accident because I keep thinking of Attack on Titan. His name is one syllable different. I keep thinking of Levi when I hear Ackerson. I almost did it.
Oh, bro, I don't even want to finish Attack on Titan. I heard the ending is a bit mid.
I mean, it's not great, but I don't think it's that bad, honestly. But
it was a good that first season though. That first season blew my mind. At
least the first episode of the ending. It's been out for over a year at this point. I'm going to spoil it. Hanji's death. Man, that made me tear up, and I hadn't seen like the preceding 2 seasons.
And I think it's one of those shows like you probably don't have to go in like that. You're not gonna miss like everything.
You actually would in that show.
I just don't.
It goes completely off its rails.
God, I mean, it's one thing like it's like in Warhammer. Like when certain things are still mysterious, there is like a kind of like we still talk about missing Primarchs, even like 20, 30 years after like that mystery is like it just won't be solved. We're just like
it's never going to be. That's the point.
they're only going to solve that mystery if there's a financial reason to solve that mystery. So.
Yeah, when the stocks dip a bit too low.
Well, the thing is like if it continues with the trend of like one Primarch every 5 years, there's like a good few still to come. Just the loyalists.
I think they have. I think they can.
That's like
they may need to slow down a bit in terms of like it's okay for Primarch returns and they just don't join the Imperial. Like if Vulcan is like, hi, I'm here, I'll pop in and out every once in a while, but I'm not like I don't want to join the company. I just want to like I want to be like freelance.
The Imperium's even worse than it was when I was around, and it wasn't that great to begin with.
Yeah, I don't mind if they like a few of them freelance, but I think at some point it's just there's too many players on the field.
Well, the two missing Primarchs, like I think I also read they were explicitly just a reference to like
the missing legions.
Yeah, the Tautogene Forest, like the legions destroyed there. Like that was it, and they just like at the time 40K wasn't nearly as developed, so they didn't think about going forward. Like, oh, we said there's these two Primarchs gotten rid of because they did stuff worse than Horus. We can never talk about that because there's nothing we could come up with.
I mean, if it happens in my lifetime, that'll be crazy.
I mean, but if we think about it, like if we take Gilliman and Lion out of the equation, we don't count Sanguinius and Ferris because they're dead. That's 4. So there's 5 Primarchs left, right? So there's what? Jagatai, Lehman, Rogel Dawn, maybe Corax and Vulcan. So, if that's 5 years apart, that's 20 years. I'll be 50. I'll be 50 when they're all back.
But
I might as well be dead.
Every Primarch you bring back, I know this sounds, it is obvious, but everyone you bring back is one you can no longer bring back in a big event. So at some point, like you need to be conservative with that. I think you should bring none of them back.
But all I'm saying is like if they brought back Vulcan,
one of them,
like Tushan doesn't have a model or like much artwork, so nothing is lost.
We need some salamanders before we get Vulcan, please.
Yeah, can we have like Vulcan to maybe get some salamanders? Like I get Kavan Shrike and Corsaro exist, but let's be honest, no one gives a shit. They'd prefer if we brought back Corex and Jagatai. Lehman Björn is like a dreadnought, and he's now a model that is now no longer in production. So we could bring Lehman and like Rogel Dawn, like, oh, who's in charge? What's his name? I can't even remember the chapter master's name. Vladimir something.
Who cares is the answer.
Yeah, it's like bring him back. Why not?
I think they could kill off. They could kill off Lorgar and Corax, and I don't think anyone would.
They're both demons though. They're like some of the ones you can't kill off.
Yeah, but I wonder if like it'll be like because that's already like an existing prophecy thing. Of being like if he fights Corax, he'll die. I just think one of them like like bring them back and then they die. Some need to die. Sorry, but continue with Halo. Sorry, Halo. Sorry.
No worries. Spartan 3s. Optimistically, they were intended, and they were the next generations of Spartans, improving on the 2s. It was very optimistically hoped that there would be over 100,000 Spartan 3s deployed, so they could use them as like an actual proper army force, not just spec ops soldiers. That never happened, but can't fault them for having that spirit. But this time they had a different way of acquiring the Spartans. Instead of just kidnapping children from random planets, they would approach, they would go to a child from a colony destroyed by the Covenant and go, "Hey, little Timmy or little Sally, do you want revenge on the people who killed mommy and daddy?" And then they would kidnap them and turn them into super soldiers. These were now explicitly war orphans. They're pumping full of drugs and throwing in an unmarked van. And then telling them to kill aliens. Now they're designed to kill aliens. First batch was all gathered by December 27th, 2532. And 4 years later, by 2536, they're ready to go. Their augmentations were far more advanced than the Spartan 2s. Ackerson and those on the project, they took the data from Halsey as well as just, accounting for advancements in technologies in the last 20 years. And it allowed for both, a wider gene pool. You could be a little bit less strict with who you augmented. You don't need to be baby Hercules anymore. And it was a safer procedure to the point that I don't think anyone actually died from becoming a Spartan 3. Some didn't quite, take, but they didn't die, so we got that going for them. Their training was also headed by a Spartan 2, Kurt, who was said to be even more intensive than the Spartan 2's training. So they were going through the ringer. The three main companies, as they were come to be known as, I believe, were Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. And it's a pick your poison in terms of who got the worst deal. Gamma Company in particular was further enhanced with 3 additional drugs given to their augmentations. One of them both prevented their bodies from going into shock, as well as making them deadlier in combat. It basically, let's see what's the way to word it. Spartan 2s had fight or flight disciplined out of them. This drug just turned off the gammas. It just turned off flight. All that is left is fight. The other 2 drugs they were given had to be regular taken because that first drug, if those 2 other ones weren't taken, the Spartan 3s of Gamma Company would be driven into an animalistic rage. You ever watch 28 Days Later?
Oh, yeah.
Very depressing.
Yeah. Well, if a Gamma didn't get their happy pills, it was that, just not infectious, but also worse because it's a Spartan.
And 28 weeks later is also, but to be fair, what's that tune that goes na 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 na?
I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, it's a great tune. Anyway.
But yeah, that's what happened when a Spartan 3 didn't get their happy pills, at least of Gamma Company. But for what it's worth, in ideal circumstances, which admittedly there's a couple reasons that didn't happen we'll get to, Spartan 3s could have been every bit as deadly as the 2s, and probably more so. And I promise that's not just my favoritism for Halo Reach talking, because how about I just tell you what Fred and Kelly thought? Fred was like watching them fight, and he was saying that they are fighting incredibly. Like, even for a Spartan, their attacks are masterworks. Kelly fought one briefly, and the 3 was able to twist her arm, and like Kelly put him in an arm lock, and then 3 broke out, twisted her arm, and just ran away. Now she did lay him out not long afterwards, but immediately after, she punched the dude in the face, and then immediately afterwards he was up and moving. And Kelly noted that if I did that to any normal person, I would have just ripped their arm clean off.
It's just like Kelly was like, "I'm gonna wreck it," and that was her thing.
And for that matter, that punch to the face probably would have turned anyone's skull into jelly. So yeah. And if all that's not enough for you, in one of the books, June, a Noble Team Spartan 3, was ripped out into the vacuum of space without a helmet and fought his way. Well, first he was fighting out in the vacuum of space. Then when he was done fighting, he got back in after the fact.
Very Gilliman of him.
He wasn't feeling great. It wasn't an enjoyable experience, but he did recover, and it's more than any of us could say. The problems of the 3s just is really the circumstances regarding their creation, because Oni didn't really want Spartan 2s, but better. They needed expendable soldiers that could do missions that ODSTs couldn't, and Spartan 2s couldn't without dying.
Yeah, it's like you could have 50 super soldiers, but that means you can only deploy them to 50 battles. And if you're doing a galactic-wide campaign, 50 is not much.
Yeah.
Yes, you might win 50 battles, but then you need more. It's not enough.
Yeah, so they were given, compared to what their predecessors had, substandard equipment and were treated as what they were, expendable. They were given semi-powered infiltration armor, SPI armor for short, that gave them a little bit of a boost to their strength and speed, not much. And I don't mean like, Paradox game players where it's like, oh, this only gives me a 5% instead of a 6%. That's apparently massive because Paradox players are psychotic at a certain level. It normal people could wear SPI armor without their nervous system just collapsing in on itself, which if you tried to wear Mjolnir armor as just a normal person, the spasms of your nervous system being thrown out of whack would kill you.
We have a donation by the legend himself, Crimson Glory, RIP 051 Kurt. He was a real one.
Kurt was a real one. Shout out to nuking those Covenant.
Donkey Man USA again with law fact number 7. Jun may or may not have gotten off reach by climbing a space elevator. That just, I don't know, maybe copium there, I don't know.
I'm sure he dies in a later book, though.
Well, he might, but he trained the Force. He got off reach. He lived. Like, him living is not copium. He lived.
And donation by Alpha Omega, $5. He says, at least Oni solved that ethical dilemma from Amber Alert and Flash clones to semi-optimal Agog from hell. Agogi.
It's like the Spartan. It's probably a Goji. That's what the Spartans, or actual Spartans, were like trained in. So semi-optional. You know, they asked the kids if they wanted to get revenge for mommy and daddy.
I still really like that cinematic.
Yes.
I'll see if I can find it. Hold on.
Yeah. Spartan 2s all the way. Also, some of them, like Spartan 4s or Spartan 2s, were 13 when they were thrown into the fire. Not old. Some of the Spartan 2s were 11. Or Spartan 3s were 11. Like, they had puberty put in early. Because you need the super soldiers now. Time for them to fight. They were younger than the 2 3s, less well equipped, because you can make 100 suits of SPI armor for every Mjolnir suit you made. It's just effective. It's just better ODST armor at the end of the day. Like, it's inherently stealthy. Like, it's got reflective plates. That's really the only noticeable benefit you're getting out of it. And to top it off, the mission Spartan 3s were sent on were, like I said, the ones with 100% casualty rate usually. Alpha, Beta, and Gamma each had about 300 members. Gamma had, I believe, 330, but about 300. There was a planned Delta Company that never came about because the war ended. But Alpha Company served for 9 months in 2536, and they performed spectacularly. A couple of them were taken off of Alpha Company earlier, but most of them stayed in Alpha Company. Then what's known as Operation Prometheus happened, where they were going to destroy a Covenant shipyard, which they did. Every single one of them died doing it. All of them. Not a single Alpha left that battle alive. Beta Company, similar deal. Had a period of spectacular stellar service against the Covenant. And then Operation Torpedo, same case as before. Particularly valuable members were taken off the mission. Everyone else, go complete Operation Torpedo and die doing it. But, 2 of them survived this time. We're up from 0. Hey, that's something. And then there was Gamma Company, which was a rush job even by the standards of the 3s. Because it take a 7-year-old, and biologically, because of the augmentations, they were turned into an adult in about 9 months. And like you say, the Spartan 2s had to learn how to walk again. The Gammas had to learn how to move their fingers and grab things and coordinate again. It horrible stuff. They didn't have nearly the amount of casualties as the other companies, and a lot of them would survive the war, which led to Oni having to figure out what the hell to do with them, because that angry juice in their brain problem would, keep you don't want the rage virus breaking out among your super soldiers. But they did end up being sent on far away special ops stuff to keep them out of the public eye. Don't be a Spartan 3, even more than a 2, maybe.
Wasn't the good sort of storyline for them in the end.
No, it's horrible.
Damn.
There were about 3 alternatives to company death, which was the usual option. One was some of them were put on special teams given actual Mjolnir armor, and they were treated about the same way as Spartan 2s, which is you're still going on horrible suicidal missions, but special guy that you are, you could feasibly do this without guaranteeing your death. and they were treated so similar to the point that a lot of what the Spartan 3s did was attributed to the 2s, because the public wasn't really aware there was different generations of Spartans. A Spartan was a Spartan as far as they cared, which for the 3s part, they didn't really care. They just wanted to kill aliens. You can even see some of these guys in the last mission of Halo Reach, although it's just their corpses. So, still probably not a happy end.
Damn, I just don't get any like
No.
no proper dubs. It's just like, yeah, kinda.
Yeah. There was Noble Team, which is just kind of its own thing. It was under the Army's jurisdiction. They got Mjolnir armor. They didn't have the same restrictions as other Spartans, which usually you're not allowed to collect Covenant weapons. You're supposed to destroy them in case they get destroyed, or in case they have like trackers on them and they can find more human worlds easily. Emil has a collection of them for fun, just because he's from that period of gaming where one of your main characters could have a personality that starts and ends with having a skull for a face.
Damn, good old Modern Warfare.
And it's all like every time there's a collectible like armor piece, it's Emil, top of the stack, 50 billion V-bucks to get this.
Yeah, 50 million reach fun bucks.
It's like, bruh, can I not just? It's okay. It's like, I'm ready. How about you? Yeah, that's a kind of cool line. Not gonna lie. Kukri knife, pretty cool.
He died like a real hero.
Yeah.
Cosmic Stealth Bomber says Halo Reach has the best Forge maps.
Oh, it had phenomenal Forge stuff. Yeah, Noble Team, it was always a 6-man team with another one rotated in when they fell, with a special exception again for Emil, who had someone rotated in for his place whenever they fought insurrectionists, because whatever he did to them, he was so brutal that he made the agency that kidnapped children to make super soldiers out of say, hey man, you're going too far. You got to cut that out. No idea what he did to the innies. I don't know if I want to know. But
it's like a flayed one. He just wore them.
I might have public relations nightmare, whatever it was. And then the last other option, you could have been a headhunter, which someone said, what was it, Spartan Night Lords? Basically, these were 3s that managed to complete at least 2 of their assigned missions. They were taken from the respective companies, and officially their job was like they would go behind enemy lines on like the most brutal of missions that need to get done, given extra training, given either Mjolnir armor or pardon me, they were given a special SBI armor that was almost approaching kind of equal to Mjolnir, but still not really. Officially, that was their job. In practice, the UNSC gave them all these fancy toys and training and said, go have fun behind Covenant lines. And then they did. And there was absolutely a couple headhunters who were wearing grunt skin capes. That was the 3s. And overall, probably the most tragic of the Spartans, because again, they're just thrown into their deaths because humanity needed more bodies in the line of fire.
It's just like, hey, I want Spartans. We have Spartans at home. Spartan Freeze. They're like Spartans from Wish.com.
Yeah. Well,
they're good, but they're not as good.
And again, if like treated the same way as the 2s, they could have been better, but that was never their purpose. They were never supposed to be better.
I don't know what this comment means, but someone, Mr. Miller says, Emil and Thankful were on the same page.
I think that's just being horrible beings.
Truly the worst.
And I'll give Halsey some amount of credit. She was never she still kidnapped the children. She never was able to really truly convince herself that she needed to do that. She kind of carried that guilt with her for the rest of her life, and every single one of their deaths, like, she felt personally responsible for, which to some extent, yeah, you are. But, I'll give her credit. She felt some level of remorse. Ackerson was like, all right, first batch died. We need another one. Chop, chop, boys. Come on. We need more super soldiers. Did not care.
Yes. I mean, Big E has no remorse, whereas Halsey at least was like,
I feel bad.
Any other way, I would have done like it differently, but we're desperate.
It's like maybe looking back, I definitely could have done some things different, but yeah.
Crimson Gloria, another $5. He says, "Did you mention how all of Noble Team's deaths are intertwined with their character?"
They are. I was about to say, with the Spartan 2s or 3s, because so much was attributed to the 2s, no one really remembered them, with the only major exception being that on Reach, after they started like re-terraforming it, making it habitable again, there's a statue dedicated to Noble Team in the city of New Alexandria, which I thought was nice.
And to be fair, this trailer here that we're showing is the actual predecessor to Noble 6, I believe, canonically. This is like him, and this is his last moment before you come into the game. Yeah.
For what it's worth, like it's him, and he blows up a ship. So they did their job, but he explodes. I also think that while I'm looking at it, he absolutely had time to throw that and then run if he wasn't staring at that.
Yeah.
Like he clearly starts running.
Unless he was just like, I know I'm not going to make it. I'm going to do it with you. I'll try and run, but he should have just stayed still.
You see him turn around though. Why did he bother?
Because cool guys don't look at explosions.
No, they don't run from explosions, which he just did.
So they walk away slowly, don't they? Should have.
With Noble Team. Carter's the leader who goes down with the ship. Kat's the intelligence person. She gets shot in the brain. George reaches his home and he died to save it, which slip space rupture detected, did not work. What is it? Emil was the sniper, is the only one to live. Or no, June. How ironic was Emil's death? He was the close quarters guy and he got shanked with a sword. And Noble 6, who was told to cut the Lone Wolf stuff at the beginning of the game, and then the last mission of Halo Reach is called Lone Wolf.
And Carter dies smashing.
Yeah, he goes. He's the leader of the team, and he goes down with the ship quite literally.
Yeah. Although killing a scarab is pretty cool. So he
didn't have the firepower, but he had the mass. And then last but not least, and I say not least because Project Orion existed and was a flop, Spartan 4s, which is also a case study and why first impressions matter. Because I guarantee you, people would not feel nearly as down on them as they do if the first interaction with the Spartan 4 wasn't Palmer sassing the chief. Thank you. Thank you.
I hate Palmer. Jeez. Palmer is such a shit character. I hate Palmer. Oh, you're a little short. I thought you'd be tall. It's like, fuck off.
He could fold you like a chair.
Yeah, it's like, could you not have any respect for the forebear?
It's just the Master Chief.
The Master Chief. Yeah. And you're going to be I'm going to be a bit of a shit can. Piss off.
Sure, it is just a rank, but there's a Master Chief, and then there's the Master Chief.
And the thing is, I wouldn't mind if she was shitty to everyone else, including her own Spartans. Then it was like, oh, Master Chief, and showed a bit of reverence. But it's like, hey, not being funny. You're playing in the wrong league. He's out of your league. Stay in your lane.
Jealousy.
Man, USA lore fact 8. My copium addiction tells me 6 is still in the cave. Trust me, is totally. He's still there. I promise, he's alive. Yeah, Noble 6. He's totally alive. He's good. Cope. It's Cope. I wish, man.
Also, Papala. Palmer's not that hot. She's just tall. Calm down.
Some would say they're one and the same.
It's like it reminds me in the Kaifer's Kane book where he says he always wonders how some people really have a thing for the Adeptus Sororitas because they all have that same ugly haircut. He says, and he's just they pull such a face that there's
Danny DeVito in that one episode of Always Sunny where he's got, I can't remember what his name is.
He's the artist, isn't he? Yeah. The fine art thing, but literally, he says the way the faces they pull, and that same ridiculous haircut.
Gablogian. There you go. Ongo Gablogian. There we go. Love Danny.
But Spartan 4s as a whole, I'll defend this project as being a completely reasonable and logical next step for Spartans in universe. It makes sense. This Spartan 4 program, very simple premise and kind of calls back to the original one. Take younger Marines, like candidates that show promise, as well as veterans. All of them still volunteers. We're done kidnapping children, everyone. We've moved past those times. And turned them into demigods. This one was headed by 2 Spartans. One known as Admiral Musa, who was one of the Spartan 2 washouts, but he managed to live and be roughly functional. And June from Noble Team. See, like, there's no copium. He lived. Ackerson was going to head the project again with Halsey, them working together, but then Ackerson exploded and Halsey was arrested. So neither of them were available at the time. They were quite occupied, as it were. The Spartan 4s, this led to the creation of just the Spartan Operations Branch. The UNSC decided, we're gonna make a branch for this. Feel like this is worthy of its own like little department of the military, whose whole job is just deploying and overseeing, maintaining everything to do with the Spartans. Some of them, there was some questioning as of to the necessity of it, the Spartan 4s, and because of what the recruitment was like, mostly from Oni. Because when you kidnap children, you can brainwash them all day long. But when you take a volunteer from the military, your super soldier who's going to rip his way through tanks like they're butter, he might have some baggage. He might decide that deserting and joining the other side is actually what he wants to do. He or she might go, well, actually, maybe I like the insurrection. Maybe I'm going to kill the rookie. Maybe I'm going to... New Blood is a horrible book that shouldn't have been written ever. Fuck you. But, that's besides the point. Even with those concerns in mind, Spartan 4s, they went ahead with it. And January 7th, 2553 was when it started. And within the next few years, more and more Spartan 4s would be created. These guys even get to keep their last names instead of being just the first name and a number, since they don't need to erase their identities anymore. Their augmentations are better and worse. We'll go with the better first. They're far more forgiving. Like there's nothing about a casualty rate, and I couldn't even find anything about them washing out. So like,
we have a donation by Crimson Glory again, brother. Thank you. He says in block capitals, done kidnapping and brainwashing children. What is this capitalism?
The free market has decided
capitalism.
The free market has decided we don't need to put children into the minds of Reach any longer.
Can't have capitalism if the market's gone. Got to put those child soldiers in the line.
It turns out it's far cheaper to get adults and volunteer adults rather than,
cloning children you've kidnapped.
Not quite fully grown.
I'm just saying we can't make iPhones if the Covenant own all of the semi-precious metal mines. We got to kill the aliens.
That's
kill
true.
the Xenos.
We can't have child labor.
Soldiers. It's
they
fine.
collapse all of our colonies.
Yeah. If you want to still enjoy Tesco meal deals, we've got to have child soldiers. That's just the reality.
That's kind of like, weirdly enough, if everyone here's seen the Fallout TV show, turn away just for spoilers now, unless you guys don't want to hear it.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, the whole plot, they changed like some bits, but the whole plot point was that Vault-Tec and all the other corporations that like you see pop up in Fallout games, they supposedly like encourage the nuke dropping to essentially eliminate the entire surface of the world, so that when they rebuild the world, they will entirely control the capitalist market.
They'll have the entire market share if you kill all the market. Why not?
So the specific way they did that is absolutely dumb, but like Vault-Tec causing like has been hinted before as being like behind the bombs.
Well, I suppose that they got upset that the war was likely not gonna escalate, or like they were gonna stand down, so they were like they had to push the
yeah.
If we want to get a return on all these vaults we built, better make sure there's a war. Why not?
Well, the reasoning, like that specific reasoning, is kind of whack, but like Vault-Tec being somewhat behind it is that's been hinted before.
Plus, I gotta love seeing the cameo of Mr. House, my man, Rene
Vegas
himself.
Vegas. It's gonna happen. They're gonna get a Vegas, Colin. You have to watch Fallout. I mean, it's not. I won't gonna blow your mind, but it's all right. It's pretty good.
I mean, I would say, considering we're talking about Halo, it's far in superior. Of like loving the source material.
Yeah. Zano $2 says Spartans got 2 sides, ballin and balling.
About right. Thank you.
Appreciate that, brother.
Where was I?
Spartan 4s.
Yeah. They're they made stronger, better, faster, smarter, harder, all that, everything in the Daft Punk song. Than normal soldiers. They were given obviously better training. The surgeries lasted about 3 weeks, and when you're done, you get a super soldier. And as a further bonus, the armor allowed them, like they were wearing, was far and away better than previous like Mjolnir armor. Definitely better than SPI armor, but that's not saying much. That it could kind of like level the playing field between a 2 and a 4. The downside is that the Spartan 4s need 2 hours like of specialty training, another 2 hours of physical conditioning and augmentation monitoring to make sure that they're taking. It's less potent. You need to be checked out to make sure everything's going all good in your organs and that crap. Also, I feel like I'm misunderstanding this, but when I was reading through like the augmentations for the 4s, the way I understood it was that it sounds like they took all of the meat off your bones and then put it back on, which I feel can't be right, because you kind of need that.
Yeah, but I mean, you have layers of skin, like you have subdermal, and like you could theoretically, if you're under anesthesia, take all someone's skin off and then put it back on, assuming their stress responses weren't active.
You could do that with the skin. I was definitely misreading it, because the first time I was going through it, like as I read it, it sounded like they took the meat away. You had no more meat.
It's wild to describe it as meat.
Yeah. I mean, think of it like a sausage. You can take the outer layer of skin off, but you still got the sausage inside. Yeah. So like they could always peel that off. They could banana peel you, put something under. Like I know, like
that's the whole. That's how you do Primaris them basically.
They have the subdermal. Like
they peel them back and they put on like muscle fibers.
That's probably what it was. It's just in my initial reading, I didn't see it as like they took the skin off.
Yeah.
I read it as like
deboned.
Eating a chicken wing down to the bone is what I
imagined, them,
and then putting the meat back on the chicken wing.
Crimson Glory again $2. Thank you so much for that. Remove meat and meat attached to bone symbol.
Dude, Sarah Palmer, there are bugs under your skin.
I mean, have you heard of the term degloving?
Yes, horrifying.
Yeah,
no thank you.
Yeah, but as long as you're asleep, it's fine.
Yeah, but another plus side, the 2s were cheaper the 4s were definitely cheaper than the 2s, but they were a constant investment you kind of needed to keep your eyes on. 2s and 3s, ignoring Gamma again, once you were done, whoever lived and made it through, they were good. You didn't need to maintain them. Again, ignoring Gamma and their anger medicine. Spartan 4s, you need constant doctor visits and more. Mentioning that immortality thing from earlier, Spartan 2s and 3s might be biologically immortal. I don't know if it's ever touched upon, but Spartan 3s, they're said to be like in the prime of their life for about a century, and they could probably live twice as long as an elite who can live up to 300 years. So that's the Spartan that needs pretty constant maintenance, can live up to 600 years. I don't know if Master Chief could ever die of old age.
Not that
he's lucky enough.
Not that the games would even let him.
No, but
if there's still money in Halo, they will keep beating that.
Yeah, but he's that archetype of like. Are you guys familiar with like the game Red Faction?
Yeah.
Like in Red Faction Armageddon, there's like an Easter egg of the original character. It's just like some crazy old man who lives in the hills and it's like, I didn't die, I'm still here. You're like, that'd be John 117, like an 8-foot tall guy living in the hills, just like, I'm still alive.
Yeah, I'm not
lucky
dead
to
yet.
Die.
Yeah, he's they're never really touched upon, because even in universe, it's only been like 30 odd years, 40 since the 2s were finished. So they just haven't had time to die of old age if it's possible, but they might live forever. Chief will live to 40K. And Master Chief is the real second Primarch.
That truly is what he doesn't have Mjolnir armor. He has plot armor. Truly,
He's said to be the luckiest Spartan. He's so lucky it affects the universe.
He has 11 out of 10 in luck stat.
Yeah.
God, Dark Souls 2 luck build was the worst idea I ever had. It didn't do anything. It didn't do anything.
Luck builds in Fallout are great, and luck is also great in Fire Emblem because it means you don't get critted as much.
Indeed.
Crimson Glory again, brothers, as Master Chief will die to a Jackal Sniper from Halo 2 Legendary.
That's very true, but Jackal Snipers from Halo 2 on Legendary could probably murder the Emperor. It's
they're bullshit.
You stick your foot around a corner and then you're dead, and you didn't see what killed you, but what happened.
When I got Halo 2 on release, I remember playing I was like, I've done Halo 1 on Legendary, and I got Halo 2. It's going all right. I got to that one bit, and then it was just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And it was just like half an hour, just like, what the fuck is this? So it was a growing moment for me.
Let me just throw this in here for anyone interested. It's the Boulevard of Jackal Snipers. But we're almost done. I'm almost done with the Spartan lore vomit. With the 2s versus the 4s, outside of their armor, not at all equal. Like I said, the Spartan 4 augmentations are less intensive than the 2s. They would fold them like a rag doll. With the Gen 2 Mjolnir armor the 4s have, it's like the point is to make up for the augmentations not being as severe, which is why for all the travesty that is Halo 5, its single player campaign, that's why Locke, the Chief needed a minute to kill or to put him down instead of 2 seconds. That being said, I don't know if they ever said why, or if the remaining 2s and 3s can't just be given the upgraded Mjolnir armor and they can just rocket past the 4s. Don't think that's ever been addressed, and given how Halo seems to have taken to throwing shit at the wall and then abandoning it between Halo 5 and whatever the hell the Endless are in Infinite, who knows? Probably never will be addressed.
Yeah, I was like confused. I remember I was watching Rooster Teeth at the time with like Halo 5 dropping. I was like, damn, gameplay seems pretty good. And then like from when I followed it to Halo Infinite, I was like, what? Like they set up I mean, as much as Halo 5 was like, they set up something massive at the end of Halo 5, and then it didn't happen. It happened off screen.
What it reminds me of? We've seen the recent release of new games coming out in a couple of years. It reminds me a lot of of Gears of War 5, where they went, hey, end of Gears 5, one of the 2 main characters has to die. And it's like, oh, the mother of what's her name is like the Locust Queen, and they obviously didn't know what the hell to do with that. So now they're doing a prequel. It's like, guys, just abandon it. Don't go back to don't do Gears 6. Just let us go back to the good old days.
Even within that, there were projects for like a Helldivers style ODST game almost that was canceled. Not even by 343, like Microsoft higher up. So. Good ideas are in short supply. I love.
Do you think they do you reckon as of like now it's like 2024? They don't really know where they want to go with Halo? Because I even remember Infinite's support.
It's all over the place.
I think it's maybe the problem with like when a studio has worked on something for so long, they crave doing like Bethesda could have dropped Elder Scrolls 6 in like PS4, PlayStation 5, like next gen stuff. Probably like PlayStation 5 or like Xbox One or whatever, but they never did because they were like, we were desperate to work on something else, so we're going to release Starfield. As of time recording, Starfield is basic. Starfield is a game on paper.
It sure is there.
It doesn't have a soul. So I reckon maybe 343 are like, we just want to do something else so bad.
Yeah,
I think keep this money train going.
I think unfortunately, Halo's soul right now is that of one of the Spartan 2 washouts.
I feel like the thing about a lot of these studios like 343 and such and the Coalition, it's like we want to pursue the margins rather than the game. It's like, oh, we want to like make a big expansive MMO. open worldy, lots of guns. Oh, look at the rather than like, how about we just do what the fans want? But we can't make more value from the fans. We need to get new people involved, so we're going to expand and
Do you
make
know
all
what
this bullshit.
ironically it's become?
Ugh.
It's the Warhammer problem where like it's trying to be a setting rather than a finished like story. Also, Crimson Glory again with the donation. Thank you, brother. Says, on a happier note, have you seen the new Doom trailer? Is it Doom
Yeah.
Medieval? I think.
God,
With the shield.
They
Dude,
don't miss.
the skull gun that shoots ground up skulls. They out Warhammered Warhammer.
Doom has not really missed, has it? It just really
No, not since 2016.
It kind of is if it had a Master Chief skin on Doom, it would be the same thing.
Oh man. But almost done. Last couple things now. For what it's worth, I'll give you the opinion of Edward Buck on the differences between the 2s, 3s, and 4s. He was an ODST who became a 4, and even before he was a 4, it was outright said.
Billion.
Yeah, we're like, if this guy was any better, he'd just be a Spartan. So you can probably assume he knows what he's talking about.
Sorry, DJ Beast.
Oh, God.
Starfield is like Colin's dating life. Theoretically, it's real, but no one believes it. My dude, leave! Get out of here!
What the fuck?
Leave him alone.
Brutal.
On his case, he's on your case, man.
But,
Jesus Christ!
Buck, so I can end this and cease my torment.
Find his house.
He called the 2s like titans, like of Greek myth, like they're just head and shoulders above everyone else. The 3s were, the gods, like not quite as strong as the titans, but definitely up there. And he said like the 4s were like the demigods, like Hercules, like heroes of myth, Odysseus, Theseus. And maybe at first glance they're not that much different than normal people, but they're definitely something special. And at the end of the day, UNSC High Command has what's known as Corruptor Protocol, which is what happens when a Spartan is infected by the Flood. It has happened once, and with that in mind, I don't think there's any functional difference in terms of how likely you are to make it out alive between a 2, 3, or 4 infected by the Flood. I think you're going to die. So in terms of how it matters for normal people, functionally, they're going to fold you in half equally well. And that is the Spartans.
Wow.
Any questions?
More like just a statement of, my God, there's just, I think because particularly like with Space Marine, they don't really, we're in a phase at the moment where it's like, there's only technically there's like different sets of armor that define almost generations, but there's no such thing as like, other than, I guess, the Primaris Marine is an example, like another generation of Space Marine.
All I'm saying is, I like the consistency with the Spartan variations, but please God, Bungie, not Bungie, 343, don't make Spartan 5s. Just don't for the sake of doing it. Just 4 is enough. 4 is enough, please.
4 is good.
To be fair, if the money's there to sell things about it, it will happen. Like with I think probably I predict maybe 20 years from now we'll be like, do you guys remember Primaris Marines? Like it will be like a thing of, at some point they're like, we need to sell more Space Marines. Surely
we've got Secmaris Marines now.
We've got the Stormcast Us Eternalus.
Yeah.
Those newer models look like they found their like uniqueness amongst not being copies of Space Marines.
No, they're the new models.
I can't wait for Age of Sigmaris. There we go.
Yeah,
that's what.
It's going to be Age of Gillimar.
There you go.
No, I don't know what they'll do in the future with it. To be fair, I mean, because Warhammer now will be, as much as like Halo is a huge franchise and more people know what Halo is rather than Warhammer. Warhammer's on an uptick and it'll be crazy. I mean, I suspect when it goes to like a mainstream level, it won't be. It might have to be cleaned up a little bit, just because I suspect people might be like, "Oh my God, that makes me want to throw up in my mouth.
Yeah.
Because that's crazy. But I think, I mean, if it's like an on-screen or like something like that, it'll still be Warhammer, but it'll have to be like, yo, these are Space Marines are cool, aren't they? Like, Space Marine 2 is not going to be chucking out demon hosts that invert someone anus first. Probably.
Dark Tide did.
Well, that was a sentence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was.
Well, yeah.
What a way to end the Halo episode. Demon host inverting you asshole first.
And last, another nation by the Salty Schmuck was a great name, by the way. You've done it, John Rings. You've become the Halo Infinite.
He didn't say
Old
that.
Johnny Rings.
No, I think, to be fair, like in the future, like it's like silly, like what divided people, like me growing up not really playing much Halo was simply the fact that it was content exclusive on certain platforms. Like being a more PC now, like it's the thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like at some point, it should be like, bloody hell, we really need to get everyone like.
Well, they got Game Pass, so Halo's always on like Game Pass stuff, so you can get that on PC. I'm just waiting for the point where it'll be like, John Halo, there's one ring to rule them all, one ring to bind them, and in the galaxy bind them. It's like, I
guess one last
more
question.
Halo rings, why not?
One last question I'll add in for Colin, as our, he gave an absolute showing of, lore knowledge today. What would you do to the Halo franchise to kind of, I guess, it's not dead, but like to kind of give it new life or resurrect it in some way?
Focus on some like non-Master Chief stuff, like another ODST game or some go back to the Human Covenant War. Or I want to see what some of those like potential spin-off games that were being cooked up before Microsoft put them down. See what was going on with there, because Helldivers, but ODST sounds fun as hell.
You know what I think would be fun? What if you just did a spin-off called Halo New Mombasa, and it goes from when Master Chief drops down to when the Warp Rift messes everything up, and then you have to survive with your squad. You could do an ODST style spin-off. It's in like greatest hits of Halo 2, and you could just have a bit of fun with it. And then when the slip space rupture happens, you could take it in a different direction. But it's like, hey, you could key in on that nostalgia, but also make a good fun game that isn't about John Halo and the rings.
Yeah,
but kind of like what they do with like Star Wars these days. It's like, oh, we'll do another. We need more Darth Vader. Put it during a Darth Vader era. It's fine.
Yeah,
but make it.
It needs someone with a interesting idea and good direction to really like steer. Like with most games, like it's usually been one person's like, at least in the beginning, that one person's good vision that they've seen success with, and just to follow that theme. There are 2 donations, but I want to ask 3. So I'm going to ask them in different orders. So there's one I want to stick on, which is Crimson Glory says, "Give it back to Bungie for $2."
Yeah, I agree with.
I think Bungie
Have
is
you
like.
Seen what they're doing to Destiny?
I don't give it back to Bungie.
I think Bungie is like they're doing Destiny 3 at the moment, so that's kind of soaked.
Destiny 3, they're doing Destiny 2.11057892
and executing it while they're at it.
And also all their talent has fucked off.
Angry Homunculus says they put Master Chief in the soda. Don't know what that means. Tom Warren says, any opinions on the upcoming Dragon Age? I have played most. I have Dragon Age Origins and Inquisition, not 2, but the new Dragon Age trailer just came out recently. I think I'll let Andy go first.
All I'm saying is I've played them all. I love the first one. I love the second one much less. And I love the third one much less as well. I'm kind of done with Dragon Age. And personally, it's too long. It's like, that was a significant gap between 3 and now. Like, I don't know. There's something to be said about momentum.
It's something to do with particularly like the studio. I can't remember the studio who makes Dragon Age. But they had that
BioWare.
game. Is it BioWare? They had that game. They've had Mass Effect Andromeda, and then they had that other sci-fi-ish game that completely like failed.
Oh yeah, what was that even called?
So this poor studio, this studio
Anthem, Anthem.
This studio is definitely like If this
Yeah,
game
but
doesn't hit, it's on its last legs.
the thing is, it has the Bungie problem where it's like the talent has left. Like the guys that made that company what it is are doing other things.
Yeah, like they're
it's the company in name only.
yeah, like the OG Bungie guys are gone.
Yeah.
343 should just remaster Marathon and give Halo time to cool. There's my other answer. Introduce people to the abomination that is Marathon Infinity's plot.
I think with the new Dragon Age, I know what people mean when they say like the visuals of it looks like cartoony Fortnite. I think this game has been in development so long that like people who like all of us boys, you know, who are watching this stream or listening to this later at a date, I don't think we're the target audience, because I think they are definitely aiming for perhaps the like basically a new group to come in and to discover Dragon Age, because I don't think people who are like say younger than us now, they're not going to play Dragon Age Origins. It's just too dated.
Yeah.
As much as like the tone and theme and like the actual game was like,
and the fact that you can play loads of different races and it's fantastic. It's like, oh, but it's 10 years old plus. It's like, but it's so good. It's so good.
So they're trying to reach an audience that is different. Again, I think the problem with that game so far is like it just might be too long in development, and they basically like we had a vision that was like cool, like all Fortnitey, and you know, like that was what was popping off at the time. And then at the time,
do you reckon they're gonna
go to?
Do you reckon they're gonna try and copy some of the Baldur's Gate free magic?
I don't know. I feel like they're pretty. To be fair, I think the gameplay of it will be good. I just think the story will be lackluster.
Because the thing is, anything fantasy, it's like you could copy Baldur's Gate 3, but then you have to put some work in. And most game developers these days are so anemic with how much work they put in. They're like, that sounds really difficult though. I don't really want to like put that much effort in. So,
it's because it's not. It's. I think we're at a point where I think we're quite good. We're actually seeing a shift now where like some games just aren't making the cut anymore, and some other ones are being rewarded for their like ingenuity and actual like care in the game.
I mean, I've got to be honest, I haven't played any modern games in a long time. Like literally the last couple of days I've been playing Fire Emblem 7 on the Game Boy Advance for an emulator, because it's just like, oh, this is a really solid game that's free. You can get it online. I'll just play that. I'll just play like BioShock on the Switch. I'll play all these old games that are like 10, 15 years old. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I got loads of fun comfort games and games I like. There's so many games from the past I haven't picked up. I might as well get around to it now.
I can always turn on I can always play another run of FTL.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mr. Mihalov also said on the topic of Dragon Age and audiences, we got Metallica in Fortnite before GTA 6. Again, I think because a lot of these things are when certain franchises, like maybe like Halo as on topic now, like once it's been going on for so long, it's a product. It's not about Halo. It's about a game.
Fortnite Incorporated more than anything. Yeah.
And I think it's not. I mean, some games have been better. Like even like I think the longer a franchise tends to go on, like particularly in games, the longer it somewhat loses its heart.
It's that thing of like, I remember that time where James Hetfield from Fortnite beats Eminem to death with a pickaxe while Goku and John Wick nay-nayed in the corner. Like, yeah, that's gaming now. Cool.
Here we are.
No, but some like I mean, like the games. I think companies will start to see like, oh, if you actually give, you know, what I mean, if you actually put effort into it, there's actually more money that comes out of it. Again, like the driving force for even in Warhammer.
But at the same time,
okay, good.
It's like I was going to say. I'd like to reference Baldur's Gate 3, where the entire gaming industry, for the most part, said, no, we shouldn't like set the tone for gamers that we're going to put a load of effort into it because that's unreasonable. It's like,
I remember that.
Yeah. Well,
it's like we're lucky with Warhammer particularly because what seems to sell best, particularly on the lore side of it, is actually just good lore. Like the siege, like the particular the Horus Heresy, as much as like if you're not even like with Colin like not being the biggest Space Marine fan, the book in a general sense, the Horus Heresy series and the Siege of Terror as a book series slaps violently hard. It's actually like if someone read all of that, which to be fair, I think Andy has, and I almost have. Basically at the end of it, you want to have a stiff drink and a cigarette because you're like, my mind was particularly blown by the enormity of what I've just read about. So as we're getting good stuff. I mean, as much as like Warhammer is like, there's some issues about it, bro. Think of things like Dragon Age or Star Wars or like how Halo is currently. Like we are spoiled with how well it like it's holding up. It may be getting a bit cleaner around the edges, Warhammer, but it's still somewhat has that energy to it, which is like, oh, this is the grim dark future, and they still make great looking models with pretty standout lore. Not always great lore. It's like it's not always, it doesn't blow my mind every time. But I've not read really any. I've only read one book in Warhammer that I didn't finish. Like I read one thing that I thought was disappointing, and that was it.
And not to be funny, it's like you've got the lore, you've got the codexes, you've got the video games, you've got the spin-offs. Even when people are like, oh, look at these really cool Magic the Gathering cards, that's cool. Oh, look, like I won't reference Call of Duty as a good example, but occasionally, like I think I don't play it, but I assume people were chuffed with the World of Tanks and World of Warships 40k tie-ins, where it's like, oh, here's some cool stuff with a Warhammer thing.
Russ.
Yeah, or a power washer simulator. Oh, I get to clean a Land Raider. Praise the Omnissiah. Yeah, let's go.
It's
like, cool.
It's the weird bit, like it comes full circle where we're slight. Also, Crimson Glory is one with the donation. Thank you, brother. It says Warhammer 40k needs to be protected at all costs. It's where you're somewhat thankful that they actually are protective of the franchise in some way. Like I understand that they want to make it more like. They will in the future alter Warhammer in a way, not because they want to subscribe to any ideologies. The ideology is money. Like the more money you can get out of Warhammer, that will be the direction it will go. But I'm sure but that's the way like the writers have always found a balance with it. Like the writers if you're a writer for Warhammer, you are writing so that someone can sell a miniature line, but they still made they let Dan Abnett. God knows why. Just let him go do your thing, Dan.
Yeah,
go make some weird lore.
But at the same time, I really enjoyed the new Emperor's Children, Lord of Excess book, where it's about the Emperor's Children and Xantine. It's like there were no miniature rangers being sold for that book. It was just, hey, we need an Emperor's Children book. Oh, they're all being degenerates, and there's a navigator who's so self-obsessed he crashes a ship into the sun. Cool, that's what I wanted. And you can tell I think there's going to be a transitionary period soon where a lot of the old guard of writers are going to be replaced with new writers. But
that's because they're older. I think they're a lot of them are. That's not like they're getting rid of older themes or older things. That's mostly just because I think, particularly a lot of the writers, they probably have thought everything I've wanted to do with Warhammer, I've probably already done it. I don't much I loved Aaron Dembski-Bowden, who's written things like Hell's Reach and some of the Horus Heresy series. They probably just don't have any more things they want to do with Warhammer. And I think we'll probably see a transition because a lot of them. Who's the guy? Is it Graham McNeil who he wrote the second book in the Horus Heresy series, and he's written loads of books. He's written the Year of Ventress books, and he's in loads. I mean, he's written hundreds of these Warhammer books. But then he's left, and he's now the head writer at the people who do League of Legends.
Riot.
He's at Riot just because I think he's there's nothing more for him to bring to the Warhammer universe. So there'll be new writers. To be fair, we've got to give some of them a go because I'm sure they've got literally tons of material to get inspiration in.
Or even this guy who did the Lord of Excess book. It's his first book for Black Library, and it's really good. I'm like, cool. Or even that guy who did the Gene Stealer one that I haven't read yet, and apparently it's really good. It's like, yeah, these new writers are kicking ass, so hopefully they'll continue to do so.
I do think there'll be something. Yeah, Salty Smug says in the comments. It's sad that long-running franchises are being run into the ground. I don't think Halo is being run in. So I don't think 40k is being run into the ground. I just think it will be like the more visible aspect of it, like in the future as it grows, will just not be the stuff that we think is like the true grittier stuff. But they're not getting really rid of it. I don't think they'll just show that to a mainstream audience. They've not out. I don't think I can think of a retcon that I thought was like, wow, that's like maybe I thought retcons. Some of them are like a bit weirdly done. But I've never seen. I don't think I've seen a. Maybe I might be misremembering. I've never seen a retcon where I thought that was like that's completely unabashedly not Warhammer.
Well, the other thing is as well is like it's so broad. You'll never get everything onto the silver screen anyway. Like there's just too much weird stuff.
Yeah,
and even if they do a TV show, it's only going to be a splinter of it. You know.
I think with Warhammer. So this is a bit of like a way add on to this Halo stream here. But I just think. Again, like if we ever see it on TV screens or movies or anything like that, there won't be huge amounts of it. I just hope I just hope the Horus Heresy is an animated series, just so they're able to get that sort of out. Because I think the Horus Heresy, luckily, like there's not much. Like, as much as like people like to talk about Grimdark, the Horus Heresy is not like 40k books are much more like that's the Grimdark future, and 30k is a little bit more.
Slightly less grimdark past.
It's more like tragic and it's heartbreak. I get sad at the 30k Horus Heresy stuff. I get like disgusted at the 40k some of the things that happen in there though. Yeah, I think people say like, yeah, Fem Studies is always a bit of like a.
These companies had lore master they listen to would be successful. Thank you, Crimson Glory.
I think well, to be fair, lore masters are just.
Oh.
I'm not sure we decide. Sorry, even like writers. I don't think writers even decide direction in Games Workshop. They're more like they get given a like brief, and then it's sort of like someone saying, "Can you go paint a canvas?" But here's like some color. Like they give you only a few set of colors to do it with. They're kind of filling out a product line in a way, and they do a damn good job at it. And hopefully, some Eldar will get some damn love. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, 30k, but thank God, 30k in Horus Heresy is done. Like, as in, like the Horus Heresy Siege of Terror, like they did it, and it was good. So that's always badly protected in this little bubble, and then I don't have to worry about anything else. And I'll finally read all of it soon. Sorry, Colin, I've really hijacked your Halo episode at the end.
I think my final word is that I still like Halo more than Warhammer.
I think we all came. I think Warhammer is my top, but I definitely came from other franchises as well, and I will definitely like be playing. I mean, I hope Dragon Age 4 just is all right. Like I played Dragon Age Inquisition for the game. Like I don't think as my lore cup is filled by Warhammer.
Mm-hmm.
DJB says in brackets,
I don't know.
In quotations, we all came. HAL 2024. Appreciate it, brother.
I'm just saying I don't give a care about the new Dragon Age, but I'd like to play the new Gears because especially now they've dropped the Gears moniker and going back to Gears of War. It's back to like E-Day. I'm like, cool. That's just like a bow on the section of the fan base I really enjoy, which is Gears 1 to Judgment. I don't care about 4, 5 plus. I just like the old stuff. And if they're adding a bit to the old stuff and it works well, I like it.
The thing is, like, what ultimately, if everyone's listening, what will ultimately rise to the top is the quality product. If Star Wars is going down the drain, less people will watch it, and then I mean, like the thing that will be good will eventually just. I mean, there are other franchises.
It's like the whole fact that KOTOR hasn't had anything new in years. If you discount the MMO. And it's still like in the zeitgeist, people still revere it. It's like as long as they don't do a TV series on KOTOR, because I don't expect them to do a good job. I'm like, yeah, leave that in its own separate bubble. That's fine. I like KOTOR. I like the original trilogy.
Slot Wars. Appreciate Slot Wars. I think with that being said, though, this is hopefully people enjoyed the Halo aspect. There's a massive showing from Colin here. He's absolutely delivered on Spartan lore, and we hope you appreciate this little small deviation from our regular sort of Warhammer lashing. We're back to Warhammer. I don't know what we're doing as a topic for the podcast next time, but we'll have
figure it out.
We've got some topic lines up. We've got a tier list, I think, next week. We're interchanging them with the quiz just to give people a bit of a relief from maybe too many things and too many tier lists. But we'll try to get some people on as well. Hope everyone enjoyed. Colin, Alpha Mega says Colin is a Chad nerd. He is.
I'll take it.
Yes, appreciate you brothers so much. Thank you everyone who donated as well. The entire stream, appreciate that. And but before it shuts off, let us everyone know if they liked the new setup where we have the actual sort of or a gameplay like display in the middle bit for people who are just audio
and stuff like that.
For people who are like audio listeners, they don't understand. Like we had a gameplay sort of center in the middle where we basically, based on the topic we'll talk about, we're going to put a sort of video of gameplay or something that we did in the middle just to keep it chugging along. Hopefully people enjoyed that though. I don't think I have anything else to add then, other than just, again, if you've made it this far, please subscribe. I should say at the beginning.
Always just want to see more of, as always. And need to add Subway servers. We'll get on it.
Yeah, that'll be it. Honestly, I did think that was a great idea at some point. We just have it attached like phones on our foreheads. I'm not missing anything, am I? No. Oh, the question of the week. Feel free to answer that one again. If I remember correctly.
#power trip.
Yeah, #power trip. Appreciate you, brothers. And Colin, DJB says Colin gritty. Only if he is in the mood.
We'll see.
That's the thing.
We'll see. I'll cook it up. Put Fortnite gameplay. If it's Stealthy Free 7, you're on my wavelength.
Yes. I don't. As long as we can find a skin that matches similarly enough to the topic, we'll probably do things like Total War Warhammer and good old unification mod of Dawn of War Soulstorm, because we were dying to. I'm dying to get back on that horse. I am.
To be fair, I also did get Mechanicus on my Switch because it was on sale this last week, and I'm like, ooh, yummy.
Someone says put on Berserk armor to destroy my spine. Okay. That's a great idea for power armor. But Berserk armor is just consume. It's just I was like, be original, add Temple Run instead of Subway servers. Appreciate that. With that being said though, thank you everyone for listening and watching. Appreciate you guys so much, and we'll try and catch you on the next one. Peace and love. Peace and love,
everyone.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.